Ebusuafo ni etiefo ni die kwan so me pacho ema obi bia akwa aba bacha news so hanum daily update TV obu kwan so say na no first time abacha news so mesro say any die kwan so nya videos ni hwe na so woni jiwan please subscribe for more updates like and share videos ma love is so enye bi enhwe nyakopon hia no nyoke se ebusua me pacho Asawase seat ni me pacho na very competitive because this time around the NPP came like they came with a full vim. Now because they came in a full vim, me pese me chere say this time around no many a break gidi pa to the extent so moko fa zongo ni kra ma ne contest Muntaka. Yenim say Asawase honum the zongo community and eson wo honum. So the NPP wanted to capitalize on sa zongo system no na omudi a sit in a free Muntaka ho. Muntaka e free zongo. Inti ma mo kofa manaf a ono nso ye indigene a wo zongo ho no. Se na nkebe ya ebe sete sa zongo aspect no. Nka meka se ebe chemienu na che se NPP for o mafa. Na busua me pacho enti aba ne se the incumbent wafaba no Muntaka afa Asawase na me patcho we video Muntaka na nkofo mako on the streets Kumasi streets pa ebusua ano mu Jubilate a video na ebe kwa akohwe na ohwe Muntaka na nkofo mo nam kwan mu Jubilate just Asawase aye the victory of NDC sa victory yeah train my Electoral Commission at the final one number when you better say the former president and the incoming president a president view and NDC as a winning overwhelmingly majority in parliament. Yeah, train maybe some few hours more to go. EC will come out to make such a declaration, of which we are expecting that. I'm not saying that is it. Yes, a prediction. Yankopon hia no nyoke se ebusua yenko ne kohwe video na Muntaka lead NDC youth any NDC supporters in Ashanti region or more Haiti street or more Jubilate yankopon hia no nyoke se medase bebre
all the analysis that you want and you actually need before day breaks. And I'm here with Helena Piampofo and Judith Brown. We'll go straight to the Ashanti region because the Ashanti region has proven to be the stronghold of the ruling New Patriotic Party. Will they still have a hold on it after the New Dubiase, etc., Franklins and all those two constituencies that make four that the NDC presently have? Well, we'll go straight to the Asawase constituency. Ibrahim Abubakar is standing by, and the incumbent member of parliament, who is also the PC for the NDC in this election, Muntaka Mubarak, is excited already and is proclaiming victory for himself. Ibrahim Abubakar joins us on Zoom. Ibra, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, John.
Why is Muntaka so excited and so sure even before the Electoral Commission's official declaration of results?
Well, Johnny, the results collected so far, he is leading comfortably, and he also says that they have collected all the 216 results from all the 216 polling stations, and as it stands, they are leading by 13,000 margin of votes. So per the NDC's calculation, Muntaka has around 43,000, whilst its closest contender, Manaf Ibrahim, getting 30,000 plus. This is even excluding the special voting. So they are currently counting that here. So if even you look at how Muntaka entered the collation center in a triumphant entry, coming there with so many supporters, jubilating all over Asawase and even around the collation center, and you compare to how his closest contender, Manaf Ibrahim, also entered very quietly with no supporters, then you can sense that indeed Muntaka Mubarak has retained the seat here in Asawase. In fact, it has been a fierce contest. 13,000 people, some people are surprised because even though there are people who thought that Manaf wouldn't be able to snag the seat from Muntaka, but they were expecting a closer margin. But 13,000 is very huge. But when you look at the turnout, it wasn't as encouraging as 2020.
Right.
This year that Asawase has registered over 108,000. That's the expected number of votes. About 74,000 of them turn out to vote. And if you compare to last year, where over 80,000 of them turn out to vote, then you can see that, in fact, voter apathy also set in not only in other constituencies within Ashanti, but also Asawase as a whole. But for the NDC, they are excited that one of their key seats in the Ashanti region, they have been able to retain it.
Right, Ibra, I'll let Helen take over from here, but I know that earlier in the day, his key contender, Manaf, had come to the polling station. He had refused to go through the protocol, which is usually accorded parliamentary candidates. He, clad in white, he wanted to join the queue. Some supporters of the NDC thought that would amount to some form of campaigning. Muntaka thought otherwise, but his demeanor has changed, Helen. Clearly, his demeanor has changed.
I mean, I'm surprised, though, that he had high hopes, because we know the characteristic of the Asawase constituency. In a region that is largely an NPP stronghold, it's always an anomaly. But Ibrahim, tell us, what was the disposition of his main contender? It's an NDC stronghold, Asawase is.
Exactly. This is an NDC stronghold, but for the first time, we had a youth within the NPP who is also an indigene of the Zongo community. You know, we always say Asawase is a stronghold of the NDC because this is a Muslim-dominated area, and most of them usually vote for it, even though we have other Christian communities where we usually get the NPP votes coming, and it's few. So this time around, the NPP had someone who had that youthful exuberance, who was able to attract more of the youth here. So for them, the NPP, they were expecting at least if Dr. Baumia is unable to win Asawase here, their candidate should win. So in almost all their campaigns, sometimes they don't even talk about Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. They were focusing on their candidate and were insisting that, well, if you still want to vote for John Dramani Mahama, you can go ahead and vote for him. But when it comes to parliamentary candidates, then you have to choose Manaf. John was talking about the incident that happened early in the day. You know, when he joined the queue and that confrontation, later the EC officials and the police intervened and he had to skip the queue for the sake of peace and other things. But even that polling station, that was the place he expected to win among all the polling stations, because that is just behind his house. That was his backyard. And that place, Akroma, they have two polling stations, but he ended up moving to Muntaka in all those polling stations. So that was when his supporters decided or started giving up, because if Manaf is losing at Mentasem, where it is, I would say, is kept, then it means their chances were very slim. So for the two polling stations, one of them where he voted, he had 242 votes, and Muntaka had 278 votes. And the other polling station, Manaf had 214 votes, whilst Muntaka getting 309 votes. So that was when most of them started giving out and said, well, maybe this is not the right time for them. They will have to go work hard and come back maybe in 2028.
Certainly, Ibrahim, thank you for that. Actually, very quickly before you go, we know that even within the party, Muntaka has had his fair share of issues. How far do you think this provisional victory will go to solidify his place within the NDC party?
Okay, so fortunately for him, just at the dying moment of the election, the latter part of the campaign, and there was that reconciliation. I quite remember when John Dramani Mahama came here, and when also some members of parliament for the NDC, Aruna Idrisu and the likes came here, and they spoke to all of them, and that reconciliation process started. So before the election, they had taken that initiative and ensured that all the feuding parties had come together to work, because this is politics and it's all about numbers. So you can't just allow some of your supporters to go, especially when you have a strong candidate coming around this time. In fact, it's not only in the camp of the NDC, even in the camp of the NPP, there were division even between the DC and also the former PC and MC, who is Ali Bisredi, because of what happened in 2020. So there was that division, but for them to, when Baumia came, they tried to reconcile, but there were still undertones. People were still not happy because of what was happening. So they tried to come together and work towards this day, but unfortunately for Manaf, he couldn't survive. So, like I said, his supporters, that's what they are saying, and they are not giving up. They'll have to go re-strategize and come back stronger in 2028.
Certainly. Ibrahim, thank you so much for
Zoom right now. Prof, quickly, just your final thoughts on what you have heard so far from the ground.
Well, again, I think the reports are disturbing. If elections will have to constantly be environments and spaces of insecurity, where bullets can fly and where the attempt at keeping the peace might result in people dying, especially when they are just trying to exercise their civic responsibility. That raises questions, and people will be worried about that. But it also raises another question. If citizen vigilante efforts will undermine and potentially endanger the ballots and, potentially undermine the whole declaratory process, the police can't stand aloof. They will have to exercise the security authority vested in them to maintain the peace. The military, and I've said this publicly, the military has no business around the electoral process in general. But the military may come in a residual fashion, and they will therefore only come in upon invitation from the police. In which case, we'll have to know, anytime the military plays a role, we'll have to know whether there was an express invitation from the police. If the military comes into the process without an express invitation from the police, the action of the military is actually an attempt at overthrowing the Constitution. It has very serious implications, and I think sometimes we do it in a perfunctory, rather cavalier way. We treat it as, but it's a very dangerous thing when you have the military playing internal security role and responsibility without having been invited by the police. When that happens, they are competing with the police for purposes of maintaining the peace.
Right.
A responsibility which is not entrusted to them, a responsibility which is only given them by way of being expressly invited. Their responsibility is to maintain the territorial integrity of Ghana by ensuring that they police the borders, not police intent. I do have one time I hear the military play a role without us expressly being told that the police have actually invited them in this case for them to play the role. But it is important for all of us to also remember that we all have a responsibility to maintain the peace. And like I said, while we do have an interest in the electoral process, while we do have to ensure that we maintain a certain level of vigilance so that there are no malpractices, because Ghana has had too many incidents of electoral malpractices, it is a balancing act which has to be done very carefully so that we do not also invite a high-handed security intervention by way of the police being hard on any effort at undermining the peace and possibly going all the way to invite the military to come into the process to ensure that domestic peace and security is maintained and there is no compromise.
Professor Ernest Abochi, thank you so much for talking to us. Professor Ernest Abochi, who you just heard over Zoom, is Dean of the UPSA School of Law or Law School. But still here with me is Professor Ransford Jampo. He's a professor of political science at the University of Ghana. Next to him is legal practitioner Martin Pebu. I'll take your thoughts on this one. The last two events we have had, the shootings in Teshi in the Lejokuku constituency, and then also in the Ayawaso West Wogon area, particularly on Legon campus, where, the incident of another attempt to pad votes or include fake ballot papers in the exercise. Prof.
The creeping practice of wanting to smuggle and swap already thumb-printed ballot papers in ballot boxes is so low IQ and so unintelligent by those doing it. You see, so Omadjimun Doye. You can see the level of vigilance. If it's a party, those who are doing it, if they are intelligent people, if their parties are actually staffed by people who have higher IQ and people whose intelligence are high up there, they will stop. But they are still doing it. It tells you, these are the people who parade. Already, it started, I'm told, Kwadaso. They started there and some other areas. Oh. And these are the people who want to lead us. You see, you did it once through vigilance, you were caught. It's been twice, you were caught, and you still want to do it. And I commend the security agencies that, look, without fear or favor, if you run afoul of the processes, I'm told the guy has been arrested.
Indeed.
Let every charge that is appropriate be preferred against him. And let such low IQ people who were sent by people whose intelligence is low, okay, let all of them face the full rigors of the law. Because I don't understand why we are doing this to ourselves. So meaning all the campaign that people did, they knew they were not going to win. They knew they were going to flop like this. And so plan B is to design their own ballot boxes and then design their own ballot papers and thumbprint all of them and then hide them somewhere so that they will attempt to be swapping. Are we all foolish? Or they think that they are more sensible than the rest of Ghanaians?
That's what they meant by they will win with a trick. You remember?
I don't remember that.
No, they said that they will win with a trick.
Hold on, I don't remember that.
Japan once said 2020
Don't talk about Japan.
Hang on. Gentlemen, hang on.
You see, Japan said that 2020 elections, didn't you hear?
And that if all that, he went and mounted the
I know that one will come there. I know that he's discredited. I mean, he said everything about his own party, and then later when things have not changed, and he thought that we're not even listening. I mean, look at how they treat us. Well, next time it will get to his turn.
Let's come back.
But my point is that you see, these low IQ people and people whose intelligence quotients are very low, we should not allow them to want to swindle us. Okay, let the law take its course. And I am surprised that you guys went about campaigning, not knowing that you still have a plan B. And I'm explaining, I'm trying to recall that, what Ken Japan said, that look, if you dare me, I'm going to expose how we won the 2020 election. He said that, you want to cut me. I'm sitting somewhere. Then you bring me in. Then I'm not
trying to cut you, but I'm saying, may we clarify that in the Ayawaso West Oregon situation, I didn't hear which candidates thumbprinted.
I've not mentioned any candidates.
Yes. But because of what Lawyer Kwebu had brought, the angle Lawyer Kwebu had introduced, I think that it is. I am obligated to put that clarity to bear.
Well, I've not mentioned
but take a dig also at the military situation in Teshi.
No, the military situation in Teshi. You see, I'm hearing that they fired into the air just to calm people down or just to let those who are being rowdy, just calm down. But my point is, were they invited by the head of election security? Was it the IGP who called them there? Because what we were told was that the military would have no role to play in the process unless they've been invited.
Right.
So is it that the police was overwhelmed? Or this was one of the strategy that the ruling government is implementing just to undermine the authority of the IGP. Who sent them there?
Fair question.
Who sent the military there?
The police will have to clarify that point.
And the military high command, we expect them to also be speaking about some of these things. Okay, we expect them to be speaking about some of these things. If they were not legitimately invited there, then what was the business? What was their business going there to be firing warning shots?
I see. Lekwebu.
You are in a hurry to go to Martin. I don't know. I speak for 1 minute, then you go to 1 minute.
It's midnight. Lekwebu, quickly.
Man, he has nothing to say.
No, you cannot say that. Lekwebu, take a dig at that quickly, and then my team will have to say good night.
Good. So, citizens, let's start celebrating that we've done a good job at vigilance. So that means our accountability is increasing. I like especially the fact that we've been very vigilant and watching the military. You know, this military were brought in to help one side, right? But you've shown that you don't fear the guns. And so that should be a lesson to the military. Those who send them, okay, those who send them especially. You know, it's to be expected that in every society, every institution, there will be rogues. I'm saying so because I know the larger part of the military are law-abiding and are even supporting JM from some of the results I've seen. But these rogues were especially organized and sent around to help the other side. Now they see they've been exposed. Thank you.
Lawyer, thank you so much for talking to us. Prof, I would have given you 30 seconds to say your final words to the Ghanaian people.
My final words to the Ghanaian people is that, look, we have done well, but at the same time, we should bow down our heads in shame for allowing or for recording 2 deaths in this election, and it was this was needless. A needless, occurrence, and we should be aiming at holding elections that are seamless. Now let us all relax, hold on, and then expect the Electoral Commission to collate all the results. Let them tell us who has won. Then we can now come in to dissect or to proffer reasons and explanations as to the electoral success and electoral defeat of political parties. We have all of them.
Ebusuya mepacho meda obi biase se wenyamre no abenye videos ni bi nso ahwe. Yankopon hye obi anonye obi akese. Na mepacho video ni na yede ba ya mo so monye bi ahwe. Credit to TV3 Ghana. Omo na yegunya video ni free. Yankopon hye TV3 workers ni nyina. Any TV3 Jubilate so for mo Jubilate nyina ne ona na TV3 ye ne dia. Yankopon hye obi bia. Ebusuya mepacho yede nkomo ni besia. For comment, share comment section. Never na yakenkan. Me that's very